Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can check out new episodes of the show every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. If you missed an episode or want to get more information about the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com. I'm also going to be at the Business Rocks Tech, Music, and Investment Summit recording shows live in Manchester, England, April 21st and 22nd, where Steve Wozniak is headlining. More information about the summit is on the show website at buildingthefutureshow.com. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Dhruv Adhia, CTO and founder of H Plus Technologies. Dhruv, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Kevin.
Yeah, no problem. I'm excited kind of what you guys are doing, and to be 100% honest with you, I've kind of wanted what you guys were doing since I was a child in the 80s, but maybe before we kind of cover what you're doing, maybe let's start off with kind of where you grew up.
Definitely. So I actually grew up in westernmost state of India known as Gujarat.
Okay.
Just like similar to Vancouver, it's also the west coast of India. And I've studied there. I've been there till the age of 22.
Okay.
I also moved to Bangalore, which is southern part of India, where I did my engineering.
Interesting.
There I majored in electronics and communications with a parallel focus in computer science as well.
Okay.
As I was sort of always interested from both hardware and software perspective, how to build systems that are interesting to interact with as an undergrad student. So, and that further intrigued my interest into the field of human-computer interaction, which brings me to Canada.
Sure. Maybe kind of before we get into like how you got to Canada, what was kind of the defining moment for you that kind of got you into like electronics and kind of technology?
Definitely, I'd like to share a little childhood story.
Sure.
I was actually one of the fortunate kids in India who received a computer at an age of 12. Not
Okay.
only did I receive computer, but also internet connection with it. This was, and I'm talking 1997.
Right. Okay.
So, and I was so fascinated by this new world. I've been engaged with the physical life, but now here was a digital world in front of me, and I could talk with anyone. I could browse any information. I could be creative with things like Photoshop and whatnot. So,
Sure.
I remember opening yahoo.com as the very first website, and I decided to make one like that. As a kid, we are all very ambitious and we want to achieve things.
Totally.
So I and actually went after that. I started learning programming language at a very early age, and uh,
Like
you know,
self-taught then?
I partly self-taught. I actually started classes. I found it a little bit boring. I quit and started teaching myself after that.
Sure.
For next 3 months, I gave myself a project where, I decided to make a website where people can download music from. At the same time, they can learn a little bit as well, like, visual quiz or something like that.
Sure.
It took me around, 2 months, 8 hours of coding every day, and it was a fantastic sort of feeling at the end to see something real.
Sure.
But I'd like to share an experience that I went through in terms of creation of this website. Before this,
Sure.
I'd always used to have dinner and lunch, and with my family. I would tend to spend more time with my friends. But after the introduction of computer, especially getting delved into creating something, it was really hard for me to sort of spend time with others, and I sort of realized how technology acts like a double-edged sword in that sense. It gives us a lot of power, but at the same time, the current computing interface takes us away from some of the aspects of real life,
Sure.
such as socializing in real three-dimensional space. So that was a little realization moment where I felt like how could there be technologies. Essentially, it was just a question at that point. I had no idea how things could be done further. as I had just started learning things in this new world. So, this is sort of this further intrigued my interest to take up science, engineering. This was always on the back of my mind. I actually enjoyed a lot in terms of programming. It felt like God in some sense, like that you can create something, you can control something.
Sure.
And it was a wonderful experience in that sense. However, I realized that there is a lot more that can be improved at the same time as well. And I also observed little things like whether my parents are able to use it as easily as I am.
Interesting.
I also saw that there was a huge generation gap because
Sure.
of this technology. So there were certain things that were stuck in the back of my mind that motivated and inspired me to walk on this path where I am today.
Sure. So, like, what made you kind of come to Canada then?
Definitely. So, after finishing my engineering, I didn't want to do a regular master's in electronics or master's in computer science. I wanted to do something that was much more interdisciplinary. I tend to think about ideas from multiple different perspectives. I'd like to think, as I mentioned, I'd like to think from my parents' perspective, whether they find it something easy or not. I'd like to think from an art perspective. Um, I remember doing a project as an undergrad. Those art form that we make in the form of collage. We cut the
Sure.
newspaper cuttings and we create something artistic out of it. Rather than doing it in a traditional way, I decided to use a computer vision system where it will capture bits and pieces of people walking by through the lobby, and at
Interesting.
the end of the day, it will collage some interesting art, randomly. It will randomly generate an art, and that was an interesting project for me. I realized, how art and technology combined together, we can create interesting experiences. This was, sort of a project in that direction. And it was a very profound one for me. And that was the main reason that I decided that I want to pursue something where I'm not only surrounded by engineers and inventors, but I'm surrounded by artists, even entrepreneurs. So I researched many different programs in US, Canada, Australia, Europe as well, and I found this program, Center for Digital Media program.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I liked about it was, it was affiliated by four universities, UBC,
Okay.
BCIT, Emily Carr, and SFU.
Sure.
And they literally meant it. I am actually right now an alumni of all the four universities, and I could, join any classes. I could be part of any team in terms of sports, or I literally felt like I could go anywhere within Vancouver, and nobody would stop me to learn anything, right? And that was something very unique. No other university had to offer that.
Sure. No, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and it was a very exciting place. I've heard good things about Vancouver, so there are multiple reasons, I decided to come here.
Sure. No, that's awesome. So you kind of came here, you took this program. How
Yes.
long were you kind of in Canada studying?
Yeah, it was a regular master's program, 2 years
Okay.
program,
Okay.
and it's Masters of Digital Media. And the interesting part is that the last semester we either get to go the normal route of working for someone, or we get to actually start something that we believe in, the path of entrepreneurship.
Sure.
So that's something that I liked about this program as well, that it gave an opportunity to explore your own ideas and be practical about it, learn things like business model, business plan, and learn things like management as well,
Right.
and not just creating. So it was great, and it's been taught by industry veterans and leaders in that space, where they have actually, exited companies successfully, where we get to learn a lot from.
Sure. No, that's awesome. So you once you were done school, you kind of went into the workforce, or did you start H plus technology?
That's a good question. So I actually worked for a while. I was a lead researcher and developer at University of British Columbia,
Oh,
and
awesome.
I was working in developing projection mapping system and content management system for those kind of massive installations, which was also one of my on the side. working as a part-time for a young startup called Design Interactive. And at that time, they created, touchless interactive systems, which all of us, we know it as, Kinect from Microsoft, 3D hand gestures and creating those kind of systems.
Wait, wait,
Now,
wait.
this
So
was,
you worked on the connector, or you built
no, no,
projects for the Connect?
no, this was actually prior to Kinect. Kinect was not
Oh,
out in the market. It was in 2009.
okay.
So
Interesting.
So from 2009 to 2011, I was part of this startup where I got to learn a lot about, actually learning how to raise, capital, how to manage people, how to manage expectations from clients as well. And
Sure.
we did a lot of projects together at that time. We installed a 3D wayfinding system. You can navigate across gates and restaurants and lounges in Vancouver International part of the airport.
Interesting.
And this was again in 2009. This was again before Kinect came out. So we were working with these technologies and, machine learning and algorithms.
Sure.
And this is, where my vision started to solidify as well. The vision upon which the H Plus is founded.
Okay. So maybe let's kind of get into H plus technology, kind of why you started it and what it's doing currently.
Definitely. So, as I mentioned at Design Interactive, we were working with 3D hand gesture recognition system and machine learning algorithms. And soon I realized that although the gestures are being performed in three-dimensional space, the information that's being represented is still locked inside 2D screen.
Sure.
So there was still a mismatch in terms of how a person would feel, how much a person would feel intuitive when he or she is interacting with digital world. And that was sort of a collective realization. I was also working with two named Vincent and I mean they are excellent designers and artists as their background. And we realized, what if I could literally feel this pixels as I could feel real objects.
Sure.
That this information is right in front of me, and this was sort of an idea of singularity in terms of bridging the gap between man and machine. So this became it was like a brink of thought, but we stuck onto it, and H Plus essentially was founded on this vision of humanizing technology, which means to design and develop systems which are adaptive in human nature, not just in terms of interaction, but also in terms of representation of information. So, this was a sort of collective vision amongst three of us, and all three of us were passionate about, creating systems like this. And we all three of us worked on, the systems being developed at Design as well. So this was sort of an evolution in that direction, where we wanted to have that complete control over the system. It's sort of like an Apple approach where we are not buying sensors from somewhere, or monitors from somewhere, and then we are assembling it together. We wanted to have sort of complete control. We wanted to design it from ground up, and really wanted to understand the next phase of computing.
Sure. No, I think that's awesome. So, did you guys kind of raise a bunch of money, or are you self-funded, or kind of how did you guys kind of launch the company?
Yeah, so when we started in August 2012, we were immediately selected into Simon Fraser Incubation Center in
Oh,
downtown.
nice.
So, we had a free office space. At least in the first 6 months, we were run through bootstrapping, sweat equity, as you may know.
Sure. Yep.
And because all three of us were working prior to that. And we got together, we collected a bunch of money together, and raised some money from family as well, and supported ourselves for next 8 months from August 2012. We at the same time, we had really good advisors who told us, never stop pitching. So
Sure.
we were always pitching to investors, and we had a plan from there. And that's the result that you see right now, which is Hollis. So, and that was the plan actually back in 2000 and early 2013. So fortunately, We were able to raise, one of the finest seed round based in Canada. We were able to raise 1.2 million.
Wow, congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. And and based on that support, we started receiving, a lot of government support as well. IRAP,
Right.
which is in Industrial Research Association program. They started supporting us. They knew that, holograms and holographic computing would be the next phase even after, AR and VR. So, they were really, we were really fortunate to be surrounded by this kind of people who really understood what we are trying to do here. So, counting everything together, so far we have raised nearly 2.5 million in funding, counting, both government as well as, investment from private investors.
Sure. That's awesome. So you kind of touched on what Hollis is, but do you want to maybe kind of just for the listener talk about exactly what it is?
Yeah, so, through all this support, our goal was to create, world's first uh, holographic platform. Essentially, what it means is, and that's what Hollis is. So Hollis is world's first holographic platform which converts any flat 2D experience coming out of your tablet, smartphone, PC, Mac, Linux into multidimensional 360-degree holographic experience. What it simply means is, imagine something floating in the air. It's an optical illusion in a sense, but you can see it from multiple different directions. Now it's a little bit different from a hologram, like you see the stickers on your currency notes or on your credit card.
Sure.
It's different from that. But what we have done is to simulate that sort of experience, and the way we do it is through position tracking.
Okay.
When you pair your smartphone either through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi with Hollis, it can track your position in real time, and then it can correct the perspective of a given three-dimensional object that you see inside Hollis.
That's very cool.
Now yeah, and to add further on, to explain the platform part, it comes with software development kit for Unity and Unreal Engine,
Okay.
which means developers, designers, and artists can jump on board and create their own holographic experiences. They could convert any games, or could be wide range of possibilities through that software development kit.
Sure. And just so people know, the Hollis is like a box that would sit kind of on, your
Yes.
table or something.
Yeah, it's a tabletop display, and you can put it anywhere. It's a fairly portable unit. I would say it's fairly lightweight. Right now, we are in the process of manufacturing, and our target is to get it around 10 kilograms.
Oh, wow.
So you could lift it, from one place to another, and you do not require to wear any glasses or anything that's being attached to your body. So it's a hassle-free way of actually seeing, holographic images.
Sure. So maybe do you want to, like, where can people check out a demo video? Like, do you want to just kind of mention your website and whatnot so people can actually see this thing?
Definitely. Please check out all the information on hplustech.com, hplustech.com. And we are very active on vimeo.com as well. Just search for Hollis and you'll probably find around 70 videos online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you have a couple different versions of or editions of the kind of actual devices. Do you maybe want to talk about each edition and kind of what's the difference between the two?
Definitely. So Hollis comes in two editions. One is Hollis Pro Edition and Hollis Home Edition. The differences are mainly along the size, along the lines of size.
Okay.
Hollis Home Edition is 20% smaller as compared to Hollis Pro Edition.
Okay.
So you get a bigger image out of Hollis Pro, and what you get out of Hollis Pro as well is software development kit, a free license of software development kit, so that developers can participate as well. As from the name it sounds, Hollis Home Edition is more meant for families and consumers, so that they can simply unpack and enjoy the applications by plugging in their tablet or smartphones or any other computing device. One thing that I'd like to clarify is Hollis does not have inbuilt computing unit.
Okay.
But you can connect anything with it and simply run the Hollis application, and that's it. So that's how essentially it works. The
Okay.
other thing with Hollis Pro Edition is there is an HDMI port, which means that not only can you connect any kinds of tablet computing units, but you can aux PS4, Mac, PC, again, Linux-based computers, anything. Whereas for Hollis Home Edition, you can only connect tablets for now.
Okay. And so I run the Hollis off of my tablet or phone.
Yeah.
Can somebody else, or like, can I, is there another device that I can use as like a controller, or how does that kind of work? Is it just like one device powers kind of the whole experience and then everybody interacts with that, or?
That's a good question. So the way right now the default interactive paradigm method that we suggest is your smartphone, because everybody has a smartphone, right?
Sure.
So you can imagine that you'll find applications on App Store for Hollis. You'll find Hollis applications, and then you'll find Hollis controller applications. So Hollis controller applications are supposed to be installed on the device through which you want to control the Hollis.
Sure.
Yeah. For example, your Android device or your iPhones or your BlackBerry, whatnot. So for step number one, you connect any tablet with Hollis, and then you run an application. Let's say it is like a Princess Leia that you're seeing inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And step number two, you could be connecting any kind of smartphone with it, pairing smartphone either using Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. And now you could be controlling the character inside Hollis depending on how the application is designed. So this decoupled, open-ended system. Now, this is just one example that I'm giving you, and we do say that smartphone acts like a default controller just because everyone has it, but really developers could come up with voice control, Princess Leia application, or they could have a brain control application where they could be using the brain waves to control holographic imagery. Again, many different ways to interact with Hollis.
No, I think it's very cool, and like I said, kind of at the beginning of the show, I basically wanted this when I was a kid, in the '80s, growing up, right? Because this is kind of, you brought kind of, I think, a lot of people's kind of childhood to reality.
Thank you. Yeah, it's and definitely I grew up on the same kind of watching Star Wars and
Sure.
Star Trek, and those were my inspiration as well. And even growing up, we see in this kind of interactions in movies like Iron Man. So even till the date, I know that that people dream about it. People have been wanting to see this holograms, especially the effects like Princess Leia, something literally floating in front of you, right in front of you, and reaching out to that information that way. I know that that there is a profound evolution that we are about to see in that direction.
Sure. No, I think that's awesome. You also kind of on your website have a business version. Do you want to maybe kind of cover what's that version?
Definitely. So, just after 2002, we actually had prototype our technology fairly quickly. And based on our, it took us 6 months. And after that, we actually started getting some really interesting business clients. In early 2014, we partnered with Ronald McDonald House.
Oh, awesome.
Now, the business version of our technology is called HoloMax.
Okay.
And unlike Hollis is more for developers and consumers. It's a portable version of the same technology. That's HoloMax. HoloMax is essentially blown out version that can be installed in your room or retail storefront experiences. Now that is immobile because it's very large.
Sure.
But I'd like to explain one of the examples with Ronald McDonald House. We were very fortunate. We pitched a holodeck kind of experience to them, and they loved it. And their CEO wanted to build something called Magic Room. They built a new house, and the purpose of this house is to provide homely environment to sick kids.
Sure.
And it's built right besides BC Children's Hospital in Vancouver.
Okay.
It can accommodate 73 families, which is great compared to the previous house they had, which can accommodate, I believe, 32 families.
Oh, wow.
So and they provide and the CEO is a very creative and has a very innovative mind, and they kept an empty room so that something creative could happen out of it.
Oh, interesting.
So we worked with the staff member, we worked with the authorities, and we built something called Magic Room. That's world's first, holographic play space, holographic environment, where the purpose of that room is to provide magical and healing experience for the sick kids living at the house.
Sure.
The way to interact in Magic Room is through stuffies, and essentially, it's essentially object detection system. Kids can bring near to Beaver any particular given stuffy, and Beaver would react accordingly. For example, if kids would bring nearby a piece of cloud, then the entire room would start raining, and Beaver will get excited, and it will explain to kids about the rain as well. So it was sort of an educational experience for kids as well, where they could learn about different objects. In the second phase, we extended the experience to underwater theme, which is aquarium theme. And, Beaver will now dress up as a scuba diver, and
Okay.
now there are more ways to interact with it as well. We also integrated gesture control system so that kids can move around and Beaver would react accordingly, or they can interact with, fish on the wall or whales, and the experience was, just profound. And, as a result of this Magic Room, we actually started hearing some really beautiful stories as well of kids actually healing up.
That's awesome.
And there's one story that I'd like to share with
Sure.
you. There is a 4-year-old girl called Macy. She had a very unique virus called enterovirus D86.
Okay.
It seems around 3 kids in Canada have this virus. When kids have this virus, they cannot walk, and doctors cannot explain why.
Oh, that's sad.
She would visit Magic Room every day along with her mother for 1 hour, and she did this continuously over the period of next 1 month. Shockingly, after a month, Macy's mother found, Macy finding balance, and she started walking in the Magic Room.
Really?
She took her first steps. She took her first steps in the Magic Room, and
Wow.
we've literally seen parents crying.
Sure.
And we cannot be any more proud, to get to see this result. And also because of this result, we were we were the most innovative company here in BC last year, as
Oh,
well
wow.
as we won
Congrats.
Vancouver User Experience Award as well in 2014. So this project was very phenomenal. We understood a lot about our technology as well in different ways, how people could be using it. And it was not just a coolness factor, but we saw a real utility factor. Because the main difference here compared to a flat 2D screen is that something that would be like a hologram will promote, active movement in physical space. So
Right.
now people want to see something from behind, they'll have to pretty much move behind, or if the character moves, right?
Sure.
The way we programmed Beaver is we programmed Beaver in a way that it wouldn't move so much. So it will encourage kids to move around in the space. So and because of that, we actually started seeing all these results.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And you have a blog post about kind of what you guys did with the Ronald McDonald House, so people can kind of check that out online if they kind of want to know more. And I'm sure get in contact with you if they want even more information.
Definitely. They can reach out to me at through my email address, dhruv@hplustech.com. Feel free to shoot me any questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them and discuss any new ideas with you. So yeah, and for Ronald McDonald House, we have individual blog posts on the Magic Room, as well as Macy's story. You can hear the interview with her parents, and they have explained exactly how things happened in Magic Room. So feel free to check out hplustech.com and vimeo.com as well. We are active on Facebook and Twitter as well. So feel free to share your ideas with us.
Sure. No, that's awesome. So maybe let's kind of talk about other uses for kind of your technology and holograms and kind of how it ties into gaming and the education space?
Definitely. I'd like to, talk a little bit about history in
Sure.
computing. Past 30 years, we have been seeing a boom in personal computing industry.
Right.
Yeah, at H Plus, we ask ourselves question, what is the future? And we get ourselves an answer. Not only is, hologram or holographic computing be the future, but social computing is going to be an important aspect of it. Now, when I talk about social computing, I'm not just talking about social computing on internet, but I'm talking about social computing on ground
Right.
in real life. So, we started designing games where we would mimic, board game experiences, for example. Yeah, every Thursday night we have a games night and we play
Right.
board games, Settlers of Catan, Tokyo King, and all those different kinds of games, and we learn a lot from those games and try to simulate some of those experiences within Hollis.
Okay.
The main reason is because we believe that Hollis would be great for social connection as well, not just interacting with those images and holographic images, but also connecting with people around yourself. You'll be able to observe their emotions. You'll be able to see them, how they react to a particular move or something like that. And because everybody's attention is focused in the center, there is what we call it brings a digital social campfire experience.
Interesting.
So, we think that, Hollis is great for that. And when we are going to ship Hollis this year, we are going to ship some of those games which we have already developed. In fact, it will contain some of those board games like Monopoly and some of the educational related application for kids as well.
Sure. No, that's
Now,
awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious before we keep going. Can, if I have a Hollis and you have a Hollis, can we play through the internet? Or is that coming?
Definitely. Yeah, you definitely could. Because Hollis is actually, it's a display unit, right?
Okay, yeah.
And through software development kit, when you connect your computer with it, as long as it has internet, you could stream anything into Hollis.
That's awesome.
We could be even having a holographic, voice chat tomorrow. So that's all a possibility.
Well, that's very cool. Okay, keep going. Sorry, I just thought of that, and I was like, oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So, and we have made videos on that as well, like, how to, and we are going to actually have documentation for developers online, like how to embed 3D cameras, how to use our SDK, how to start using all these different sensors, so they can actually start creating and, what I would call democratizing, holographic era, because these are all wonderful applications that people have in mind. And I think they're all great applications.
Sure.
So this is what we want to promote, is this platform, essentially.
Sure. And what is your kind of thoughts on kind of holograms in the educational space?
Yeah, we touched a little bit about educational
Sure.
aspect of it through Magic Room, right?
Yeah.
I'll explain one of the strongest part about holograms and Hollis in particular. One of the things that is really good in terms of learning through Hollis is it improves memory retention.
Interesting.
After we started hearing about Macy's story, and there was Ethan's story as well, I actually did research with some of the very well-known psychologists out of UBC.
Okay.
And, what we merely found that it actually increases memory retention and it increases engagement as well.
Okay.
The way it does is, and you can try this as well, hold a 3D object in your hand. Now, don't rotate the 3D object, but try to look it from different angles by actually moving your head. And now,
Okay.
when you move your head, your brain is registering thousands of images from different perspectives. And you actually remember that piece of information for a longer period of time as compared to a video, even playing games, text, images, anything that has to do with a flatness, the amount of memory retention that you get out of a three-dimensional space and interacting directly with three-dimensional space is much more than interacting with a two-dimensional surface. So that's about memory retention. Now, so when people move around Hollis, they are registering multiple different perspectives. So imagine learning complex 3D concepts like DNA structure for kids.
Sure.
And solar systems. Now they can easily remember this piece of information. They'll be able to remember things like how far the Saturn is from Earth and how far Pluto is from, Sun, because they've seen that piece of information from multiple different angles, and they've interacted with it as well. Now, not only that, because multiple people can see information from different angles depending on the position, they can participate with others, right? So imagine, for example, parents participating with their kids. So Hollis provides an opportunity for multiplayer participation in the physical space, where we overcome isolation, we overcome stagnation, and when we overcome this problem of isolation, there is much more interaction, not just with holographic pixels, but also with peers around yourselves, and that. I would say, these are some of the strongest points in terms of improving the educational experience as well. So we have actually, when we are going to launch Hollis this year, we are going to ship, playbooks for kids. They are simple applications for now, but our idea is to encourage developers to create more content and create more applications. But we definitely believe that education industry will greatly benefit from this.
Sure. So when are you guys kind of launching everything then?
Right. So right now we are in the last part of our DFM, which is designing for manufacturing, and we are planning to go into manufacturing in a few months from now.
Okay.
And from there on, we could be creating thousands of units fairly quickly. So we are going after a manufacturing process. And making sure that we can fulfill the orders very quickly, from Kickstarter as well.
Sure.
As well as other pre-orders that we are getting on daily basis.
Sure. No, that's awesome. You kind of mentioned there was one other story, like Sean, was it? Do you want to maybe share that quick before we kind of close the show?
Yeah, it's Ethan's actually.
Oh, Ethan, yeah, okay.
Story.
Sorry, I don't know where I got Sean from.
Yeah, no problem. So Ethan, Ethan's story is not that profound as Macy's story, but Ethan is also one of the brilliant child. He actually has a bone cancer in the leg, and one of his leg is amputated.
Okay.
And he cannot walk, but we have seen even Ethan's mother in the magic room, and we've seen Ethan so happy to interact with the magic room, and he's been actually one of the designers for Phase 2 as well. Very smart kid, and he's been providing us input for the Phase 2, the aquarium theme, and how other kids could be interacting with it as well. So we've been hearing some beautiful stories of how kids have loved this space.
Sure. No, that's awesome, Drew. This has been great. We're kind of out of time, so maybe do you want to kind of close the show with, again, promoting where people can find, you guys online and any other social media profiles that you want to promote?
Yeah, definitely. Guys, feel free to check out hplustech.com, and if you're interested in Hollis right now, you can actually pre-order one yourself for $7.99 USD, and we are going to ship it in a few months from now, as I mentioned on the show. So feel free to check us out and reach out to us through the form. And we are active on Facebook /HPlusTech, Twitter /HPlusTech, Vimeo.com as well. And you can find some of the videos on YouTube as well. So let us know your thoughts. We'll be very excited. As I mentioned, this is about growing a community together. This is about democratizing holographic era with your support and with your input, and that's the reason why we are here so far. So feel free to reach out to us, and I'll be really happy to answer any questions you may have.
Perfect. Drew, thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate it. And I think what you guys are doing is awesome. And I love the stories and how, you're already kind of changing people's lives. So, this has been awesome. Thanks again for doing it. We'll be in touch. I'm excited for you guys to get these things, out and whatnot. But yeah, thanks again for doing this, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, and lastly, thanks
Sure.
to you, Kevin. Thanks for providing this opportunity. This is great. You've been helping me to bring out some of the wonderful thoughts during this interview, so I'm very grateful for that. Keep up the good work and keep sharing more entrepreneurial stories. So again, thanks a lot for this time.
No, thanks very much for the kind words, and much success to you. And we'll keep in touch. And who knows? Maybe we'll do another show in sometime in 2016.
Definitely.
Perfect, man. All right. Well, you have a good one. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
Okay.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the show. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check them out at electricmantra.com. Until next time, keep building the future.